Hello, everyone. Thank you for making it today. We have usually a French and German crowd. Both of them have been equally challenged for once. There's pretty much strikes everywhere. So all of you are people who either are really hungry, but then you're going to have to wait, are really interested in us. So thank you for being with us today. Um, as usual, we will start with a little bit of news. Usually before asking about us, people ask us about the market, what's happening. So we figured we'd be short about it, but tell you a little bit about the situation itself. First question we ask is valuation, is the market cracking down? Simple answer, and we won't spend too much time on it, but we'll be happy to discuss later on. The market is doing fine. It's just living something that we've lived several times in our lives in tech, which is just the end of a cycle, and it's fine. It's been a great cycle. It started in 2008. It's been growing ever since, gave us a lot of great companies. Some of them are texting right now, and we'll talk later in one of the panels. And just what happened is in 2022, guess what? S&P is not doing that bad. CAC 40 is doing actually great. Will probably change, but that's not our issue. NASDAQ just fell down by 30%, meaning that we have a readjustment of tech in general. And in our market, what we simply see is not that the business is dying, it's just we're going back to lower levels. Regular France is, as usual, a cultural exception, simply explained by the fact that if we look at the next figures, it'll probably align like everyone else. We face the same issues, just a question of timing. The thing is, yes, VC funding for the first time in about more than 10 years is decreasing, and especially after two crazy years that were 2020 and 2021. Why? It's not our fault. What happened is there's one thing called interest rates. They were put to zero or even below zero after 2008, meaning that money was being paid for. Money was at least free. And suddenly, guess what? Money costs money because of plenty of other elements that we're not here to discuss, but inflation, etc. And when money in France, in Germany, in the EU, in the US goes back from costing zero to costing up to 5%, suddenly people consider that debt is a much better instrument than equity. People also consider that IPO is getting complicated. Liquidity is not so easy on public markets. We've lived something historic that some of you don't know perhaps, which is we have a historical period of non-IPO in 2022, 272 days without any single IPOs in the US. Never happened. Even in 2008, I think the record was 230. So it just means that suddenly the market of money in general has changed. It has had a change on our ecosystem, as people ask. Yes, on the mega funds, the deals where you used to see SoftBank, Tiger, and the likes, they're not there anymore. You've seen it. Or they're suddenly doing something very different. PE funds, who are still quite active in tech, they suddenly stopped doing deals because majority or minority deals were not so easy. And in our ecosystem, number of rounds funded by large PE funds have declined. And more importantly, we've seen a lot of layoffs in tech companies. As you will see, they're doing fine. It's just suddenly they have to show their shareholders something, value returns. So guess what? Their expenses have to go down. Salaries are going down. They're firing people. But so, yes, we're living what is the typical sign of economic changes, restriction, willingness to be much more profitable and productive. And that has an impact on our market, meaning valuations are being impacted and number of investments so. But good news, the market is counterintuitive and countercyclical. The moment that public markets suddenly say we've been doing crazy things with money is usually the moment where we start a new cycle in tech. And our belief at Iris is that it's almost, not everything is finished yet, time to invest. First of all, tech in general is an amazing asset. Represents 41% of the 100 largest companies in the world now, biggest segment ever. It's typically, so you will hear about Vincent and Covali today. He told us that 255 billion apps were downloaded last year, 10% increase versus 2021. I don't think anyone in this room has decided to use less technology this year or in the years coming than in the past. That's what happens. We just use more tech. And besides Meta, which is a story in itself, which we won't comment, all the GAFAs and all the tech companies on their public markets have performed well, have actually displayed minimum 10% growth. And even some companies now talk about profitability. Look at Airbnb. Tech is a sustainable, durable growing ecosystem. And in that environment, you can apply a few principles that will help you live a happy and quiet life. Number one, please do forget about 2020 and 2021 valuations. They were just crazy. That's it. It's simple. 20 times revenue doesn't make sense. Multiples are back to regular multiples of market. We talk about single-digit units on reasonable growth, on profitability at some point. That's what we now look back again at. Disruption is still occurring, as you know. Every day, somewhere, somebody creates something new in their ecosystem. InsurTech's super hype. As you will see now, we can enter the world of Web3 with more reasonable constraints than just being speculative about it. Logistics is being disrupted, and even in the sea space. So yes, things are reasonable. It's just we can work at them again on a reasonable profile with reasonable expectations for growth. That doesn't mean lowering your expectations. That just means building your value in time. We still see a couple of areas where it's hard. As you can see, there are still a lot of players being super active in pre-seed or seed. That will happen, but our prediction is, even there, within the next 6 to 12 to 18 months, the fact that it's harder at some point to get refinanced will create some reasonable approach in the market. So all this to say, we find the market super exciting, and again, we have the luxury of having been there for a while. This is not the first time we see things go up and then go down. Good news is it's when it goes down that we can start building stuff together.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. So in this market, in this troubled market, where does Iris stand today? So you have a few pictures of our team. So today, Iris, we are a team of 20. You can switch, yes. Out of which 12 investment professionals. Our investment team, counts 6 nationalities, very international oriented, and operating from 3 offices in Paris, Berlin, and Munich. We manage a little bit more than 800 million euros of assets, and which is invested in today in 42 portfolio companies, mostly in France, Germany, but also beyond. You can see that there the amount deployed is really focused on Europe, 90%, and we have 2 funds in fundraising at the moment, a venture fund and a growth fund, which we will talk about a little bit more in detail later on. So we also were quite busy over the last 12 months, reinforcing our team. So we had the pleasure to welcome 4 new great additions to our team. First one is Grégoire, who joined Marie, our CFO and head of compliance, as a compliance and control officer. I don't know, Grégoire, if you're in the room there. Okay, thank you. And 3 other additions to our team. Curt, do you want to say a word on Nicolas and Sylvia?
Sure. So on the growth side, we pride ourselves of having teams with a lot of experience, and we're super happy to welcome Nicolas. Feels like he's been with us forever. We did 3 investments in common, Nicolas, and 3 fantastic ones: Talent, Kariba, Lumaps. So 3 really spectacular successes of the French ecosystem. So Nicolas was at the start of BPI France large venture, so one of the most prolific growth investors in Europe, and a key player, now a key pillar in our team. We're super happy to have you on board. We're building the team also with a view to the future with Sylvia, who has joined us in Berlin, and who's the next generation for Iris.
And also we have Anaïs joining us as principal. So Anaïs also has a great background in tech. In summary, Anaïs codes Python. So please meet her and understand what it means. It means that we're doing real tech. As you can see, the people who join us fit the Iris DNA, people who have done tech and their activity in a long time. We bring experience to the table and value so that we can accompany you in the next stage of the companies. Also, as you can see, we've made bold changes. Iris Capital has become Iris. We talked about it last summer and has made a drastic change of moving to violet, no disrespect, to green. But also that means also we changed the identity because we are orientating the company towards the future, towards something that corresponds to what we're doing, which is financing tech and being very tech focused.
So talking a bit about our portfolio, so we have a portfolio, as I said, of 42 companies, doing real well these days. So in 2022, a few numbers. So the cumulated revenue of our portfolio companies grew by 21%, up to nearly 2 billion euros revenues, and with almost 11,000 employees. We have in this portfolio, even though the word unicorn already today is a bit bashed by everybody, we have 5 great company, great unicorns, and also four other companies, that are going in this direction and soon to be unicorns. And also we're proud to have two portfolio companies that in 2022, in a period that was becoming more difficult, raised record fundraisings. So we're also happy for that.
We announced a fund end of last year. It's been quite active. As you know, we usually take a little bit of time before sharing the news. It's a fund that's already done 5 investments, out of which you'll learn about 4 of them today. It's a fund that shows that the market is still super active. We've seen 19% increase in France of the venture deals that we can see, 26% increase in Germany. Overall, 22% venture deals opportunities, so the market keeps expanding, and overall that represents, in 2022, 3,000 companies we've seen in early stage, out of which we have met one way or another through conferences, through events, through personal meetings, 1,700 of them. And yet, we've only financed 5, which shows our thesis. We meet a lot, we try to do a lot, but we're very selective, and that's our thesis. Only a few can make it to super scale that we want to, or that we're able to accompany. Out of these 5 investments, you will hear about today 4 of them, Cohort, Elu, Covali, and Spinergy. They're investments in spaces that, as we told you, we think are still strongly growing. Also, there's 1/5 and 1/6 in the pipe that we will announce shortly after. In these investments, you see the thesis. We'll let you discover what they have in common, but hints. It has to do with very strong differentiated tech platform that can scale on our market, driven by people who have a background that brings value to tech and value to their markets, on markets that we find ripe for disruptions. No more for the moment. And of course, the themes that we've seen over the past year in our 3,000 companies deal flow, they relate to all these things that you know already, meaning that, again, innovation is going well. It's going well as well in hardware and IoT than in fintech. We've seen a lot of retail and marketplaces. We see the universe of opportunities expanding. E-health is becoming something very urgent in the current ecosystem. We're seeing that the transportation and logistics is being under strong challenge. And we see, of course, the infrastructures of Web3 and the coming ChatGPT and the rest coming with a lot of value to the ecosystem. So overall, investment is extremely active.
A few words on growth. So what is growth? Growth is the stage after venture, and what we do in growth is scale companies to make them into champion size. We've been active on 2022, also quite an interesting year for us. Volume slightly lower because the market is maturing in Europe, and we hope to have 3,000 also over the years. But It's very large numbers for us. There have been a lot of activity, a lot of exchanges with companies across Europe. Here as well, a great selectivity in terms of what we do. We have the same focus as on venture. It's the same platform. We look for technology that scales and that's able to create really world champions in their market through technological advantage. So all these meetings in 2022 have been a lot around issues of how do you deal with access to capital, and how can you finance yourself in a time when valuations are a little bit in uncertainty. So we've done our part. We continue to invest. We've done a new investment with Red Points that you will hear about later on today, and we continue to support our fast-growing businesses, Jedox, SurePay, and Forto. We were investing, but a large part of what we've done during this year is to work on the fundamentals. And the fundamentals for growth investors and for investors in general is really to help companies to work on operations, to improve, to provide more efficiency. And really it's anticipating this change in this 13-year period that came to an end. When you are at an end of such a cycle, you need to be prepared. You need to be very focused on what investors will be looking, and what the market and what corporates and what buyers will be looking going forward, which is efficiency, efficiency of resources, solid teams, and capacities to scale, to come out of this downturn with a very solid company. So this has been a lot of the work for us in 2022. It is also part of our job to prepare companies to make them compatible towards an exit. So one way to make them compatible is achieve the critical mass, but it's also to achieve this reliability, to achieve this solidity of the business in order to make exits possible down the road. For the year ahead, we're also kicking off a new fund. The focus will be the direct continuation of our previous generation, Iris Next. We're kicking off a 500 million euro fund. And why do we think it's the right time? It's because the conditions are really, we think, quite exceptional for investing at this stage. Why? One, the valuations have drastically corrected and have returned to what they have been historically. So it allows us to have very attractive entry valuations. Second is, if we take a little bit of distance to the market, we see a structural massive surge in technology and in innovation, and in the companies that have been fostered by Julien-David and his team and the entire venture ecosystem. There has been an outpour of money in seed, pre-seed, Series A, and all these companies have been maturing over the years. It's been a 10-year process. It's been accelerating over the last 5, and these companies now are progressively coming to maturity. You have a multiplier effect also of all the managers that have been trained through these processes that are coming to accelerate the more established growth companies. That's on the demand side, huge demand for financing, and to serve this ecosystem, we're seeing actually a dip in supply of financing. So a lot of investors that maybe were opportunistically present in the growth field have withdrawn. very much withdrawing to their roots. So private equity, a lot of big buyout funds who fundamentally have skills that are different, which is picking stocks and financing them on leveraging debt, have returned to their core business. We've seen a lot of North American investors also disappear from the European market almost overnight, refocusing on their core market. So a very structural imbalance in the European play. And I think there will be, importantly, a premium to operations and to the focus of growing the fundamentals of the business, right? Which is what we have been preaching for a long time. What is the work of an investor? The work of an investor is first and foremost to support the development of the operations, make them efficient, and grow great companies. And once you have great companies, they will find some way of getting financed. And what we see today, still in the market, very clearly, is quality companies have no issue getting the financing that they need. On this adventure to raise a new fund, we were very lucky that Denis Duverne has accepted to lend us a bit of his time and support, and introducing us to the community where we're building new ties.
I think that's it for our introduction. Summary: end of a cycle, beginning of a new one. Plenty of things to do together, and today we'll talk about them. We'll introduce you to the future of insurance, to the investments we've made over the past year, and we hope you have a great time that we'll be able to exchange about in about 1 or 2 hours once we're done with this program. So let's talk in a few minutes. Bye.